Hi there, this is Matt at State of Flux with Nate from Huge Movie Fanatics. Special guesting to do another discussion video. This time he's leading the discussion. He's got a question for me, and hopefully we will have interesting stuff for videos on both State of Flux
we're kind of rushed.
And Huge Movie Fanatics as well. Yeah, this place looks like it's about to become bumping. So, what's your question?
I'll try to say this more shortly. So we're 10 years difference. You're are people okay?
No, you're fine.
Yeah, we're 10 years age difference. I'm distracted, so bear with us. He's a certain age and I'm 10 years older. So we've been doing reviews off and on since 2011, and my question was, because of our 10 years age difference, I wanted to, because my personal opinion is movies as time goes on get worse and worse and worse. So when we started in 2011, you had your thoughts on movies, I had my thoughts on movies being contemporary versions of movies, and I was just curious if 10 years plus on, if your thoughts on contemporary movies has changed or if they've stayed the same, because my contention is as time progresses, movies as a whole, I mean, not to say that there's no good movies at all, but movies as a whole, maybe certain niche of movies like superhero, love, action, whatever, become less agreeable to me over time. So I just wanted to see what your experience is as you get older.
So having done like film criticism on YouTube, either through his channel or mine over the past 15 years pretty much, I've not necessarily had that relationship. I've always sort of had a hopeful optimism for each era's movies that get released. I don't think movies now are any better or worse than they were 10 years earlier. I think some franchise vehicles are lazy, but if you look at the franchise vehicles 10 years ago, and they seem to go in like a decade or bi-decade cycles, they become boring until something kind of shakes up the mix a little bit and reshapes things. And so I don't think that's unique to like the aging process.
21st century.
Yeah, the 21st century. I think movies now are just as good as they were. And certainly each decade or each year there's better movies than certain other years and stuff like that. I think like for my money, 2016, 2017, 2018 had some of the best movies released. There's so many great movies released in those years. 2020 doesn't necessarily count, but 2021 and 2022 had a considerably meeker kind of base of films. But that's probably to do with situations going on with life in the world. 2015 and 2014, I think, had kind of weak sauce movies, but 2013, 2012 had some pretty grand movies. Going back even further than that, I think, it picks and chooses. I don't necessarily think that I've gotten more disillusioned. I think maybe disillusionment comes from noticing trends within say you really like slasher films, or you really like superhero movies and stuff, starting to notice the sameness and the less chances that are being taken by a studio in an effort to maximize profits is disappointing. But I don't think that that's necessarily the fault of the movie. It's more the fault of the business. And from that aspect, I can see if you're somebody who pretty much only watches those kinds of movies, and you see how a studio takes control and makes monetary value their most important end game, that can be pretty disillusioning.
Well, here's a question. Being a movie fan, obviously this is going to be another aspect where maybe our 10-year age difference is going to play a part. So I grew up in the 80s watching movies which basically on TV or a home video and stuff that were in their very first film to tape incarnations. Like I can still remember seeing the original film to tape transfer of Jaws and 2001
Yeah.
Space Odyssey, Close Encounters, all these movies were their very first film, in the 80s was their very first film to tape transfer of these movies, and growing up with them that way, and they were very, very, as compared to now where, if you showed a modern person, they wouldn't necessarily know if they were on film or digital, but the filmness, for better or worse, on those early transfers really just showed their filmness because they were really crappy prints and crappy technology to put film on video. So that endowed in me an appreciation for the fact that movies were shot on film. So here's a question: now majority of movies are no longer shot on film. Does that have any difference to you? But the thing that, before I let you turn that question over to you, the thing that's ironic is nowadays, even if a movie is shot on film, it doesn't necessarily look like it, which is kind of a bummer, like Quentin Tarantino, or what's the other guy who just came up with it? Christopher Nolan, or whoever else. That even Judd Apatow, I think, never shot on digital. So my question is, I mean, the bummer is they scan the film right into the camera anyway, so they might not have that film look with all them, film imperfections and stuff. But before I just talk too much, which maybe I already have, does the fact that movies are primarily being shot digital have any, what do you feel about it?
I don't mind it. Like, digital has a cleanness that I think is inescapable, but it also has a lot more for you to paint with as an artist, in an easier way to, again, kind of maximize your budget. Like, you don't have to sit there and genuinely paint the screen with lighting as you do with film. You can do a lot more with a lot little when it comes to the digital medium of filmmaking. And so that's not something that's ever really been, I guess, a thing I have had notice or care for. Like, I plan on seeing Oppenheimer at some point. I probably won't go out of my way to find the 70 millimeter film print.
Where the hell
film.
would you even see that?
We have it in Minnesota. It's playing in Edina. There's one theater that's doing it. However, the cans are so big, it is bigger than the table it's held on, because the IMAX tables are only supposed to go a certain amount of feet based on 2 hours and a half of a movie, and the movie's 3 hours long.
Jesus.
So
that's an
like,
expensive piece of film.
they had to make larger platforms and stuff like that.
Oh my God.
So like, even if I wanted to, I don't know that it would be the better. I've heard so many people who personally I know that have driven to that theater in Minnesota to watch that presentation, who are like, I should have just watched it like in the digital presentation of the film.
Well, that's definitely addressing what I was talking about. I guess I wasn't talking, I would think the digital presentation would not be that different than the actual on film.
Yeah.
I guess I was just saying the fact that, formerly, chemical, yikes, you can't see it. You can't see what we can see behind the cameras. But anyway, truck driving right at us, a city truck, which just now was going that way, luckily. So, film traditionally started as just that on film. So I guess that was my question, like, if you have any thoughts about it going digital. And here's another question that's kind of as a part of that question, which is, not only did they go primarily digital to shoot films, I wonder how long we're going to call them films. We'll probably just call them forever, because that's what they've been called, even though they're not technically films anymore. Yeah. But another trend that's been kind of something in the last, since the 21st century, which is more and more reliance on digital stuff. We were commenting on, I don't know if it's going to survive or not. We've been filming a lot this year, but I was commenting, it was probably on I don't know, I was talking about seeing a clip from The Flash on YouTube, and how traditionally it was like Batman kicking ass, and traditionally you'd have a guy or a stuntman in a Batman outfit doing these moves for real, kicking people for real, they'd fall down for real, and looking at the clip from The Flash looking like it was all just done in the computer for maybe a close-up of Michael Keaton, maybe in real life just for a close-up. Like, what are your thoughts on like doing less and less? Does it matter to you that they're doing less and less real and more in the computer?
doesn't matter to me as long it's all about execution, right? Like I think you can make a purely digital action battle scene and make it have weight and stakes that feel organic and make me care. Just as much as you can have a person in an overweight outfit trying to slap somebody that is a stuntman, but because he doesn't have the proper muscle control, probably is actually hitting the stuntman. Like, there is a real command and authority to doing it practically, and I respect that, but at the same time, I get why you'd not do that, because a lot of those things, there are safety concerns for those people, and like, I think the film industry is starting to look at everybody on set as a person now, rather than just like meat puppets for hire.
Agreed, but the stuntman goes into it knowing that there's safety
and, like,
concerns, and also they pride themselves on being able to do something dangerously safely. I mean, look at Tom Cruise jumping off a cliff or whatever he's purported to have done.
Yeah, for real. And there's a lot of people that are going to have diminished jobs.
And then the stunt people loses their job. So there's goods and bads to everything. Here's another question. Lawrence of Arabia. I mean, me and Beth, I just showed Beth that for the first time for his channel. Beth's my girlfriend. And you know, say what you will about the movie, the grandiose of it actually being real. To me, like, that is so amazing to watch now in 2023 as like, holy crap, you know that huge vista of desert and all those people moving from one area to the other, that's real. And if you did it now, it probably, you know, it's possible, depending on who did it, would just do that big, huge vista. Maybe they wouldn't even go to the desert. Maybe they do it in a green room, and would it be the same? To you, it doesn't matter.
Well, so I guess Superman is a good example of this. We were just talking about Superman, Man of Steel in a previous video, sort of. Superman, one of my favorite scenes in all of cinema history is the scene where Clark Kent is at his father's gravesite in Smallville with his mother.
Which movie are we talking about?
The original Superman.
From the 70s?
78.
Okay.
And you have like the camera sweeping across the beautiful like corn tops waving in the wind, beautiful landscape of like farm in the background with clouds skirting across the sky, and then it lands with him mourning his father and having like this morose moment of the fragility of human life. And put to modern day terms, Man of Steel didn't even have an establishing shot of Smallville. And it's just like, why? And like, that is elements like that, the Lawrence of Arabia. There's certain movies where part of the experience is seeing what they captured on camera, and you can't ever, if I were to turn the camera towards those clouds, you're never going to get those clouds again ever in the sky. That's what they are, and that's what they'll be documented as. Now, in digital technology, if I really like cloud A but not cloud B, I can manipulate cloud B to resemble cloud A, so I have a perfect sky. And then as an artist, maybe that's what I really like about it and like the digital nature of it. But as a purist of reality, which if you're going to a movie to be immersed in true reality, maybe that is what you like, and you want to see what those clouds looked like in Kansas in that day when they filmed Smallville, even though I think they filmed it in London or whatever. But whatever. So I totally hear what you're saying, and it's not that it's something I don't care about. It's does the filmmaker want me to care? Lawrence of Arabia shot the movie that way because he wanted me to care about that. Richard Donner shot those scenes in Man of Steel in Superman because he wanted me to care about Superman seeing his world closing in on him in this vast landscape of everything is normal, but he's learned a valuable lesson of human life. Zack Snyder didn't care enough to even give us an establishing shot of Smallville. He just didn't care. That's not what he wanted us to see. He wanted us to focus on the explosion of Superman grabbing a truck from the Smallville gas station and throwing it into the train yard and seeing the explosion. That's what Zack Snyder wanted me to see. When Zack Snyder finally did give us the farm field shot in Justice League, both cuts of Justice League have the same shot, like, the focus on that wasn't the farm, wasn't the area around him, it was on the Superman being back in that moment. So I guess it's up to what the filmmaker wants our reality to be. Christopher Nolan is obsessive about making true reality. He did everything practical in Oppenheimer with no computer-generated effects to make the bomb go off. However, obviously used visual effects to erase wires, erase dollies and stuff, the safety glasses and stuff like that. He used it purely as erasure rather than additive.
Yeah, I don't have
stuff.
as much problem with that. To me, that's you know, I'm kind of that same mindset. Yeah.
Yeah, and that doesn't matter to me. If he wants me to care like that, yeah, that's cool. I'm fine with it. But I don't like make the movie make me care. Is where I kind of come.
So to you, it doesn't matter if it's filmed for real or not. What's important for you is the feeling you get from whatever you're.
Yeah, and I guess maybe that's why I'm more receptive to like the Star Wars prequels. Is I don't care that there's not a ton of reality on screen. I've also come to the theater or put on the DVD or whatever to watch wizards with lightsabers like go like that at each other, and then so like I don't need them to go to Tunisia to film a scene where Anakin's like, I'm sad.
Well, no, I agree with that. I mean, I don't need them to go to Tunisia to film him, you know, this grown man acting like a baby either.
Yeah.
You know, no, I'm right with you. I mean, that's not worth the money to go. You know, if you right.
Because that's not like what George Lucas ultimately cared about. He cared about giving us this soap opera in space, and so it became more and more artificial as it went on. And like, I'm fine with that, but he didn't get me to care about the landscape, whereas J.J. Abrams is like, look at the landscape. For his money, J.J. Abrams' movie is better looking than any of the previous Star Wars movies before it. Even if I didn't like that movie, he manufactured a level of authenticity by going to those places and giving us true landscapes where he digitally put in spaceships and stuff on top of it. And it has like a tangibility to it that is missing from the prequels.
Okay, well, maybe that's about it. I mean,
Have you changed at all as your perspective, or have you continued down the movie suck train?
Well, we actually that's a good question. And in closing, yeah, I mean, I think I kind of started the video with that.
Yeah.
Is that for me, movies as time goes on do continue to get worse in my opinion, but not to say that there aren't still good ones made here and there.
Yeah.
Like if Paul Thomas Anderson is actually feeling inspired and does something like Phantom Thread versus whatever the hell pizza, what the hell was it?
Oh, Licorice Pizza.
Licorice Pizza was.
Yeah.
And whatever the hell Inherent Vice was, but like Phantom Thread. So to me, I'm finding out if he makes a movie that takes place in the 70s, he might as well just not even bother seeing it. But if, you know, in closing, I like Paul Thomas Anderson, you know, like There'll Be Blood, Master, Phantom Thread, but then if he does something like in the 70s, you can just forget about it. But anyway, to answer your question, the trend for me has continued where movies to me just get more and more sucky as a whole, lifeless, and I'm not necessarily, digital doesn't mean bad, like it depends on how you treat it, probably who's doing it. Some digital can look good, but a lot of digital doesn't look good to me. And to me, I'm kind of bummed that movies have gone mostly digital. And honestly, when I come across a movie like, you know, whatever the hell, Judd Apatow's latest, The King of Staten Island or whatever, which I think is actually shot on film, say what you will about the movie, standard Judd Apatow fare, but I do give him respect. Like, wow, and that movie does actually look like film, and it looks amazing. So I mean, there's no right or wrong answer. I was just curious. It depends on, I guess, what matters to you as a movie viewer, also the generation you come from. It's very possible that even if you were 10 years older and I was 10 years younger, maybe we'd even have the same...
I've talked to people who are younger than me that think that movies are worse now than they were before. Or then I've talked to people who are older than me that think that movies have gotten better than they were in the past.
That's really interesting.
Like, and it would be kind of interesting to like pull them in on this as well.
Yeah,
but,
well, I'm open to that.
Yeah. I guess to answer the question in the most basic terms, every year I do a top 10 movies of the year list at mid-year and then a top 5 movie list at the end of the year. And I've never had difficulty coming up with either list of 10 or 20 movies, or 10 or movies or a bottom 5, or top 5. But at the same time, it's gotten progressively harder for me to choose which of those top 5 I like the most because I like them so much. So I have not encountered this problem because I liked things. There, as I said, referenced before, there may have been like a couple of years in the past where I have not liked movies that year particularly. I think 2014 is a pretty prime year of. There's not a lot of great movies that came out in 2014. That I think when I was sitting down and writing down my list of tops, that one had the hardest job of me trying to come up with even 5 movies that I thought were exceptional that year. But I did after having this is a window into me.
Yay!
When I had my daughter, like, there's a lot of like just walking the baby, trying to get her to fall asleep, and you don't, rather than just walk back and forth, I gave my mind something to think about, and I was like, I wonder if I could go back for the past 50 years and figure out what my favorite movie each year was. And I did it, like, just as I was walking my daughter back and forth, and like, it was easy for me to just pick a movie every single year. Then, and like, maybe as
That'd be a fun video.
I could totally do that.
We don't have time today.
Next video, next time, baby. But yeah, and that's another video thing that I have a couple other video projects that you might see coming down the pipeline.
On State of Flux.
On State of Flux. But yeah, I had no problem coming up with it. In fact, there were a couple of years where I was like, all right, 2013, is my favorite movie like Fruitvale Station, or is it, I got distracted by the fire truck.
Civilization.
But yeah, like, there were a couple of years where I'm like, oh, I really like this movie, or I really like this movie. I think 1986 was a big year where it was like, is my favorite movie Castle in the Sky, or is it Aliens? And things like that would pop up. 1989, it was Little Mermaid or Do the Right Thing. Like, which do I like better truthfully, and stuff like that. So, I don't know. I've been able to go through my, for the past 50 years anyway, and figure it out.
Well, hopefully in the future, maybe next batch of video shoots, hopefully another one is incoming this year, fingers crossed. Maybe you can hear that.
It'd be fun to do a fall video, yeah, and maybe talk about our favorite, like, just pick one movie from the past 50 years, and then let's see if we have any overlaps. That would be a fun video.
That'd be interesting. Okay, well, we're probably running out of time here, so maybe we'll wrap it up, but I think that was a more or less answered the question and got our brains a-spinning on the subject. Hope you guys...
What do you think about it? Let me know in the comments down below what you think. Have movies gotten worse? Have movies gotten better? Are movies stagnant and that we have gotten worse and or better?
Yeah, have we gotten worse?
There you have.
I appreciate everyone on State of Flux watching. I always obviously appreciate everyone on my channel, huge movie fanatics watching. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Peace.